what it was about was bringing all the mums that are running businesses into it's normally a 3-day conference. So it's a mastermind, and then there's you get all different options. You could do 1 day, you could do 2 day, you could do 3, and then they also have the awards after.
G'day, I'm Lockie and welcome to D2C Slingshot, a podcast where we interview brand founders and industry experts to help you out on your own journey, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. G'day everyone, welcome back to the D2C Slingshot podcast. Today I'm joined with Cecilia, the founder of an amazing handbag company. You just want to give yourself a quick introduction and rundown on how you started this business.
Hi everyone, my name's Cecilia Aronson. Handbags is called KESA Konc. And I started this about probably 7 years ago now. So it's going strong and fun.
Yeah, for sure. And what made you jump into starting this business, especially a handbag business?
Actually, I created my first handbag when I was 9 years old. So I think it's in my blood, to be honest. A little tiny tie-dyed bag. I sewed it from scratch and I went to the markets and sold it. And I was like, right, okay, I'm going to run my own business from now on. And then corporate came up and all the other stuff came up. But I came back and steered back right to handbags. Always handbags.
Yeah, it's awesome. So you just mentioned your corporate job back then. Do you just want to explain what you were doing before you jumped into this business?
Oh, actually, I originally had an extensive career in the arts. So I was a product developer. I used to go to the trade shows for Kelly Lane homewares. Then I went into interior design. I was a photographer. I was always creative. I had an interior design company for roughly around 6 years, and the GFC came along and all the builders started left, right and centre falling over. And I thought, okay, maybe I should get a steady job. And I started working for a massive engineered stone company for 9.5 years. So I went from architectural specification right through to estate manager. I managed Queensland, operations, Melbourne, and then national business development. So right up there. Loved it. But it just didn't feed the soul. It just wasn't who or what I wanted to be doing at the time. So
yeah, for sure. And you spoke a little bit about feeding your soul then. I understand your mum's had a pretty big impact in your life. Do you just want to quickly explain why she's had such an impact on your soul?
Well, my mum immigrated to Australia when she was in her 20s with my dad, and they didn't have any family or friends here. So they immigrated completely by themselves, thrown in the deep end. My mum was a radiographer, my dad was a cabinet maker. And things happened, and my dad, domestic violence, not nice. He left, went back to Finland. But I grew up seeing a really strong, resilient mum. She was a single mum, and I just thought it was normal that women did everything. I thought it was normal that you, as a woman, you just did everything. Mum did everything, fixed cars, fixed anything broken in the house. I just thought it was completely normal. So that's what I grew up with, and I thought that's who I am.
Yes, that definitely shows with your previous experience as well, starting multiple businesses, climbing the corporate ladder as well.
Yeah, she's always been
cool. So you also, go ahead.
I was just going to say, she's always been one of those people that if something happens, so she was here for 19 years as a radiographer, qualified radiographer, and she went to have her third child. And the government just said, oh, look, you're foreign. We're not going to recognise your 19 years of Australian experience that you've put in as a radiographer. And anyone else would just, shut up shop and shut down. She's like, okay, fine. I didn't like radiography anyway. I was ready for something new. So she went at the age of 40 and restudied in venipuncture, which is kind of like drawing blood, and went, nope, don't like that. Then she went on to pharmacy and studied minerals and vitamins and pharmacy assistant. So she's always just shown that you don't just stop at one thing, or it's not one thing isn't the be all end all. You just keep going.
Yeah, for sure. And that definitely shines through in yourself as well. You spoke about going through the global financial crisis and possibly having to pivot some of your jobs or businesses during that time. Just want to speak about some of the challenges that come with that, like moving from, say, running a business to the corporate world and then back to running your own business again.
Yeah, well, it was interesting because the corporate world was where I thought I was supposed to be, because that's a society's expectations. You get a job, you do the stable thing, you work your way up. And I realized, yeah, that's not me. Um, I realized that you can, in the corporate world, the hardest part was no matter what you achieved, no matter how much success you achieved, it was still the company that achieved that success. It was never your own. And the expectation on yourself was always more. So no matter how well I achieved, like at one stage, when I took it over, I think it was only 500 slabs a month. I had over 3,000 slabs a month, and I was beating Sydney and Melbourne. And that's unheard of for Queensland, for a national company. But it was still, the next month was how much more. And I thought, you know what?
Yep.
It's not worth me spending all this time getting the exact same wage, putting millions in somebody else's back pocket. I'm like, it's got to be more. You know that song, it's got to be more to life. And
No.
I'm not saying that running your own business is easy at all. It's a roller coaster. There's ups, there's downs, there's times where you want to curl up in a ball, and then there's times where you get an amazing win and something happens, and then you feel this instant gratification. And it's really different from working for a corporate giant. It's probably the best way to put it. It's completely different. When you get past those challenges in your own company, you feel like you've succeeded better for yourself, or you feel like you've achieved more. It's a better sense of recognition for yourself, I suppose.
Yeah, for sure. And you had that previous experience with running the business for 10 years and then moving into the corporate world. Did you have any self-doubts when you went to start the new business after being in the corporate world, because you had to sort of fall back on that? If that makes sense?
Yeah. The hardest part was going, oh, I'm so used to having the massive big wage and the pretty car and the big title and everything, and going, oh, hang on, what's going on? I'm by myself. When I started the business, you don't have a massive team that can help you, and you don't have a title. You're by yourself half the time, and you're just plugging away, and you get distracted, and and it's frustrating. It gets really frustrating. But yeah, it's very different. Definitely very different. Sorry, I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah.
Did I?
Yeah, I was just wondering about if you had any self-doubts going back into running your own business. And you do have that title, straight into CEO.
Yeah. Everybody has self-doubts in everything you do. And I think the biggest thing is when you're running your own business, you might do something and you look for someone. When you're in corporate, you have a boss that tells you what to do, and it's all funneled down. But when you're the boss, you have to make your own decision. And if you're indecisive, it's not fun. So, and the hardest part is sometimes you turn to family or friends, but they're not in the same headspace as you. They're not entrepreneurs. They don't think the way we think. Completely left of center. So the best advice I would give people is do not go to your family and friends for advice, because it just makes you feel like you're not doing the right thing, because they don't get it. And that's not because they're not wanting to be supportive. They just don't understand what you want to create and bring in 100 handbags. How are you going to fund it? How are you going to do this? And I think I go through, saying to my husband the other day, I probably design maybe 1 or 2 handbags a day in my head. And then I have to sit there and sift through which ones I'm actually going to put on paper and put into design phase.
Yeah, and I think routine's especially important for entrepreneurs as well. It probably took me a good 2 years to get into a proper routine. And yeah, as you said, you don't have that boss telling you what to do every single day. You're your own boss now. You actually need to figure out what you need to be doing on a daily basis. And I reckon that took me a good 2 years to get into a routine, understand what I actually needed to be working on. So if anybody is out there struggling a bit with it, then go out and network with other people as well. And I feel like that really helps set some standards and stuff like that, rather than going to family and friends, like you said.
Yeah, 100%. That's the biggest thing I found when I started, because I was very headstrong. I could do all this by myself. I saw my mum do everything by herself. That's normal. But it wasn't until I went to my first networking event, I went, hang on, there's people out there like me. oh my gosh, and you talk to them and just they've been there before. If you're networking with people that have been there before and have the answers for you, you might save yourself a year or 6 months worth of heartache or headache. It's taking what they have done and their knowledge and listening to how they inspire you and going, oh, okay, it's normal to have ups and downs. It's normal to have a roller coaster. It's normal to do all this. And I think that's really important, is surrounding yourself and attending events, anything you can do. And there's a joke that I saw at the Mum. They called it business besties. Find yourself a business bestie, not your best friend. She's okay, she's still good, or he, but find your business bestie, the one that you can really bounce ideas off in the business world.
Yeah, for sure. And I have a few group chats that I go to and just throw ideas in there, and they will either tell me, oh, shit idea, or that's a really good idea, keep pushing for it. Or maybe I'm having a bad day and I can just go in there, throw a few ideas around and be like, no, you're on the right path. You're doing it well. Like, look at your last 6 months of growth you just had or whatever. Sometimes you just need that reminder as well.
Yep, 100%. It's just like little. Now, instead of fighting against yourself in your head, it's actually having that bouncing board.
Yeah, for sure. Now, you just spoke about networking. I understand you went to the Osmompreneur event. Do you just want to explain what that is and how the event was?
It's actually amazing. I actually won a ticket. So thanks to Project Kind, she is so amazing. So I won a ticket to go to the conference, and I was over the moon. But what it was about was bringing all the mums that are running businesses into it's normally a 3-day conference. So it's a mastermind, and then you get all different options. You could do 1 day, you could do 2 days, you could do 3. And then they also have the awards after. But the amazing part about it was listening to everybody's stories, from some women that were in law through to e-commerce, through to brands. It was a massive mix of different type of people, but they also broke you out into breakout rooms. So you had the e-commerce space and the service-based space, which was really good, because sometimes you listen to service-based businesses in e-commerce and go, well, that doesn't fit my profile. But my favorite talk probably was the founder of KESA Konc, and Carly Brown Official, but both of them were really raw, just real, and it was about the fails and how they got back up again and then failed again, and then listening to Carly Brown talk about her first marketing job, and I think it was in a toilet cleaning business, and she's like, it was so glamorous. It's just the real stuff that inspires you, because you can go to talks and they talk about, I'm 10-figure business, etc., but doesn't make you feel good as a small owner sometimes, because you go, oh, well, hang on, what's wrong with me? Why am I not at 10, 12 figures? Not that high, obviously, but you know what I mean, 6-figure, whatever they say. Keeps going up, as we see. Every new marketing thing goes up and adds a 0. But Osmum was really nice. It was good. It was a really interesting, uplifting event. I walked away super motivated, wanting to start another business, which was funny. That'll be next year.
Yeah. How do you handle going to events like that? All these ideas come rushing in. Like you just said, you wanted to start a new business and maybe some shiny object syndrome was creeping in. How do you handle that?
Well, I journal it all. So I have a journal of all my ideas that as an entrepreneur, you have 1,001 coming in. I journal them. And if it's something that I know fits for that time or works, then I start implementing it. So aside from the handbags, I won't go too much into it, but my husband and I run a driving experience. So we build race cars, a little bit left to center. But so it's something that, look, I don't recommend jumping on 10 different bandwagons, and you just run thin. You stick to what you know and stick to your passion. But if you have all those amazing ideas, come in, journal them, put them in a book, write them down, nut it out, everything that's going on, and then at least that's there later on for if something fails or doesn't work, or you're in that different point in life where you want to start that idea.
Yeah, for sure. That makes total sense. And you spoke a little bit about diversity there, but also race cars. And before we jumped on today, you told me a little bit about being in jail in Africa on a Mad Max or something. Like, you just wanted to touch on that story because I thought it was pretty interesting. I've heard nothing like that on this podcast so
Well,
far.
I haven't actually even told many people actually, but I'm able to talk about it now, so it's okay. It's pretty funny now. Um, well, my husband was over. He's a stuntman, and he was filming the Mad Max. I think it was Fury Road at the time in
Mhm.
Africa. So I was staying with him. I think it was normally you get about I think it's a 90-day visa when you go to Africa, particularly Swakopmund is the Namibia area of Africa. Um, anyway, so Australia has this standard visa, no problem. But unfortunately, we take for granted in Australia everything from just everything that people are going to do the right thing by us. I was heading to the airport. I'd only been there 50 days, if that. And they had a thing where they were stamping in the passports the wrong return dates so they could fine you. But this one was taken to a whole new level. So I had a valid visa. I was there legally, but I went to the airport and the guy said, "Look, you need to go right now." And I'm like, "What do you mean I need to go? I need to talk to your superior. I need to get on the plane." I didn't think anything he was telling me nicely go. And then the customs lady came out, took my passport, literally started watching me, wouldn't let me leave, wouldn't followed me into the toilets to make sure I didn't escape. I'm like, what is going on here? And I said to my husband, there's something really wrong. So he called production. They tried to come down as quick as possible, but I was put into the back of a car and taken to the local jail. And they just, no checking you in, no knowing your name. They just took your passport, and I got literally thrown into a jail cell in Africa, in Swakopmund. And at the time, I was, okay, what's my game plan here? Right, back up against the wall. I've got my boots on. If someone tries to, whatever, kick, do what you can with your boots because you're a little girl. You're not going to get far, but your legs are going to be your strongest asset. So that was my game plan. And I had three ladies in the jail cell with me that came out to have a chat. Two of them couldn't speak very good English. And learned and just sat down with them and learnt and understood them, why they were there, and it's really interesting. In Africa, if you do something wrong, steal a chocolate, have a bar fight, anything like that, you go to jail, but you go to a holding cell. So there's no beds. It's literally blanket on the concrete and a hole in the floor for a toilet. And then you might be held there for maybe 3-4 months until they decide to take you to court. So these women, some of them have been there for months. So I just had a chat and we talked about, I didn't drive from Australia to Africa. I had to explain what a boat was because I didn't know what a boat was. And I walked away going, wow, we are so lucky and grateful. And honestly, we have bad days, but far out, there's people out there who have worse days than us. Imagine getting caught in a situation that you have no control over and stuck in a jail for 6 months until you await trial. Anyway, the Doug Mitchell, who's Kennedy Mitchell Miller Productions, came to my rescue. He had a special forces team there trying to break me out. It was pretty intense.
Full on prison break.
They found the guy to do the fingerprinting, picked him up somewhere because he doesn't have a car. And then they got me out, and then I had to go to court, and I had to say that I purposely overstayed my visa, even though I had a valid visa. Otherwise, they could put you back into jail again for trial. So he was amazing. Honestly, Doug Mitchell to this day, every now and then we'll flick an email and say hello when he calls me his jailbird friend. But amazing production team. They really do look after their staff and friends and family and everyone. So yeah, that was it. Just that little thing.
Yeah, what a wild story. You'll be telling that for the rest of your life for sure.
I probably will be now.
Yeah. So while you're over there, you mentioned earlier that as an entrepreneur, you always have thousands of thoughts going through your mind. And I'm sure while you're in jail in Africa, there was thousands of ideas going through your head, probably a bit more concerned with getting out. But did that translate into any designs for your handbags or anything else within your life?
Yes, well, I actually really wanted to set up a supporting women. There's a foundation over there that I wanted to set up supporting women in that have been incarcerated over in Africa. And I started supporting that for a little while actually. And the hard part was Australian people don't understand. And in their minds, they're like, why are you supporting women that have done the wrong thing and are in jail? But they don't understand that the women might be in jail for something that's not out of their control. One woman was there because the town, it's really bad, rapist tried to rape her. She defended herself with his knife and he died, but she was the one in trouble, even though they knew he was a town rapist. They knew he was the problem. Unfortunately, because there's just a lack of understanding and education. And then the hard part is being in Australia, it was very hard to portray that. So I did work with it for a while. What we did do, which was pretty amazing, was when you go to Africa, a lot of people support the orphanages, but the orphanages have got it all set up. They know what they're doing. It's more about the schools. The schools is where, if you want to support someone in Africa, it's just, the schools are amazing. So the hard part with the schools is the kids might get dropped off at, say, 6 o'clock in the morning when mum goes off to work or dad goes off to work because parents aren't at home. Then their class, there might be 6 or 7, grade 1 or 2, but their class might be in the afternoon at 2 o'clock. So they have to wait all day in the sun waiting for their class. And by the time they get to their class, they're absolutely brain fried. So when I was over there, I hooked up with another lady on set and a couple of women, and we organised a massive container full of books and toys and hoped that container would be set up as another classroom. We tried to talk to local container companies about donating containers as well, trying to help set up stuff like that. But it's very different. It makes you appreciate a lot of things in life, and nothing's really that bad when you come back and go, wow, we are so spoiled in the country we have. It's probably the best way to put it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's some crazy, different countries out there. I just went to Vanuatu. I didn't experience it to the level that you did, but like going past some of the hospitals and jails and stuff like that, it's like I hope I don't get like a cut arm or something like that. Like I do not want to go in there. So yeah, very very fortunate.
We are, aren't we? And those poor kids in the school, like, they're so amazing. They just want to learn.
Yeah, yeah. Same with Vanuatu. Like we saw a couple of kids and like in schools and stuff, and they were just like, yeah, they love being there. So yeah,
Yeah, the other at the
cool.
moment.
So taking,
Yeah, sorry, you go.
you go ahead.
I was just going to say the other thing that I support locally, which is an amazing um, initiative in Brisbane. Actually, they're based in Brisbane. Is called Dress for Success. Amazing company. So what they do is anyone that's going through, maybe they're homeless, domestic violence, he or she, it doesn't matter. What they do is you can go in, set up an appointment. They get a stylist, come in, give you toiletries, a suit, clothing for whatever you need to face. Like might be, a court date, or it might be an interview, a job interview. So they set you up with everything, so you have the confidence to win that or get that position. So I do love supporting them. So that's something local. If you do want to support anything local, they're amazing.
Oh yeah, cool. That sounds really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you supply any handbags or anything like that, or like how do you support them?
Handbags, clothes, big driver for clothes. Every time I sell a bag, I give a small portion of the bag to them as well. I normally go down and buy up on all their clothes too because it's all designer and it's all secondhand, but it's all good quality. They're really particular, but it's good quality products, and everything you buy or goes towards supporting more people that are obviously not able to kit themselves up with a good wardrobe.
Yeah, for sure. Now, has anybody gone full circle? Like, have you helped somebody out and then later on they've come back to buy a handbag from you because you helped them out to begin with?
Well, when I was in jail, I had a request when they had me out in the main area because I said I refused to go back in. I said, could you, to the Doug Mitchell, I said, Doug, could you please buy everyone a chicken burger and bananas? And he's like, what? I'm like, chicken burger and bananas, but you have to buy them for the guards too. So he asked his guys to go buy everyone. And there was what happens in the jails is they take all people's food, anything that they bring to the jail, the security guards take it. So I made sure there was enough for them, and then I made sure there was enough for the girls in the jail, and the bananas particularly because of the magnesium. Sounding like a mum. But when I went to court, I actually met up with one of the girls. She's like, oh my God, Miss Cecilia. I'm like, what? How did you get out? And I said, did you get the bananas and burgers? And she's like, yes, we did. So that would be my biggest full circle. I wish I could have done more for them. I ended up getting a big, like clothes and everything like that, and put it all together for them. But it's hard to know if it makes it to them or not. You don't know if it gets to the jail, if it goes to the guards. So I did vitamins, minerals, everything you could do. But yeah.
Oh, at least you got that one full circle moment. So that's really good to know that you helped somebody out like that.
Yeah. Hopefully I can do more.
Now, shifting focus back onto you, obviously Q4 is a massive time for e-commerce. What are some of the plans that you have coming up?
Well, it's interesting because I used to do a lot of Hallmark events, sales, etc. But I found you're competing with lots of people in Hallmark. Like you're competing with everyone for sale periods. So I find the best strategy is to work with something that resonates with your brand, but can actually work on a different level with your clients. So, for example, my biggest success is International Women's Day. So International Women's Day, celebrating women. And it's because it's got that emotional connection, women celebrating themselves and positive in the positive light. It's no longer just a generic Hallmark event or sale. It takes it to a different level. That's something interesting some companies could look at or small brands can look at is aligning yourself with different sale dates. Don't get caught up in the big Hallmark events because you're paying for it through your marketing and your actual ad spend because you're competing with everyone else at that time.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And even like for the eco-conscious, like friendly brands and stuff like that, like what's that day where they turn off all the lights around the globe, or they try to, and like Earth Day and stuff like that.
There's a calendar online. It's 365 days, but you can actually have a look at what national day it is. And there's National Martini Day, which is a good one. There's a variety of days. There's National Juggling Day, which if you're a mum, you could align yourself with National Juggling Day and talk about, juggling all that you have to do as a mum. There's so many days that you can really be creative.
Yeah, I swear every day is a different day for something. So if you do have some random weird niche that you're selling in, I'm sure there's a day for that as well.
There
is. Yeah. So for your brand, what's coming up over the next 6 months? Do you have any big like marketing activities or anything like that? Or is it sort of being like put on the back foot and more planning the new business, or what's going on?
No, so still KESA Konc. I love it. So I've got quite a few new designs coming up. I think 2024 is going to be big in metallics, big in really just edgy. My brand is New York street style. So think with elegance and class. So like really edgy pieces, really statement pieces, but still have that classy elegance to it. And I'm focusing a lot on that metallics. I've got some beautiful metallic bags that I've designed, and they're actually on the water and they're on the way here. I've got some beautiful leather metallic jackets, and I mean full metallic. It's pretty amazing. Gold Rush and Silver Fox. That was one of them. but there's a lot coming up. Obviously, I've got the She Awards coming up. I'm nominated for e-commerce product of the year, which is exciting. That's coming up next week. And then there's all of the Hallmark events, which we all still do, but Black Friday, obviously, Cyber Monday. I find if you get in a bit quicker or earlier, it's far better than leaving it right to last minute. And then next year, I really want to knuckle down and focus on another new product range coming out. So with my handbags, I try not to, what's the word? I don't stick to trends. It's not trend based. It's not about, oh, that's out. What I do is I'll design something and it will last. It will transcend seasons. And I find that's a better option because a lot of people go out and fast fashion. They go out, buy a heap of clothing and rifle through clothing and fashion really quickly. My brand's more about slow fashion, taking a break, slowing down, having a quality piece that lasts you, it might last you 20 years, but at least using that piece for a long period of time. It's a statement piece. It won't go out of fashion. I haven't had anything go out of fashion yet, but it's about just really emphasizing that you don't need a new handbag every week, if that makes sense, or every month.
Yeah.
And buy a quality piece over buying something cost effective because it just ends up in landfill really quickly. And it's quite funny.
Yeah,
actually.
for sure. And
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, it's a controversial subject. I don't know if I should say it, but a lot of people buy vegan bags, but the hard part is a vegan and PU bag actually takes about 500 to 1,000 years to break down. But the problem is they don't last as long as a leather, and it's a real cost-effective throwaway product. So there's some things to talk about, but that'll be another story another time.
Now, I love controversy on this podcast. So it gets the TikTok and the reels going. So yeah, you can shit on them as much as you want. I don't really mind. But yeah, it is an interesting talking point there. So a lot of brands do claim to be eco-conscious or environmentally friendly or whatever, and then like you realize that maybe it's actually worse than the alternative. I think there was a study done about the reusable not reusable straws, those like paper straws, and apparently they're like so much worse. They're causing cancer and stuff like that. So and that's potentially worse than the plastic, which they all got rid of. So yeah, there's stuff like that coming out all the time. And yeah, how are you even supposed to know with all this marketing going on about what is actually eco-friendly?
Yeah, well, I saw one where they said, oh, look, it's completely eco-friendly bag. We plant a tree for every bag sold. It's completely natural, biodegradable bag. I was like, well, I just saw that bag online at one of my suppliers, and it was about $4. And it's not eco-friendly. It wasn't biodegradable. It wasn't any of the above. It's all the marketing and the hype that they put through. But I can't. I won't swear, but I can't crap on. What I put out is genuine. Like if I say it, I mean it. My mum's taught. That's one thing my mum taught me. You don't be telling stories. That's not what you do. And that was the hardest part. I've got some PU products at the moment, and I'm moving back into that leather because I wanted to do the right thing. And really, when I started investigating it, had my drop, and I went, hang on, these bags, look, PU bags, polyurethane, or PVC. PVC is the worst. But a lot of people claim that they're vegan, but vegan doesn't mean it's eco-friendly at all. Vegan just means it doesn't use an animal product. But the problem was vegan took, when I did the homework, 500 to 1,000 years to break down one bag, where an organic leather bag will last you longer, won't break down, more expensive, so you get longer use out of it, but it only takes 1 to 200 years, and it's a byproduct, providing you get source your leather and your hides from your right factories as well, and the manufacturers. But it's very different. A lot of people don't realise that. So Really
Yeah, dark industry. Maybe we'll have to do another podcast on this, but we better wrap this episode up for today before your mum starts messaging me and telling me to stop sharing your stories. So, yeah, thanks so much for coming on. I hope everybody enjoyed this episode. And do you want to leave the audience with any last words?
You know what? Your future self is going to thank you for never giving up. That's what I want to say. And in Finnish, we call it sisu. So if you ever get a chance, SISU, Google that. There's no English explanation, but it's the second and third win and the fourth win and the fifth win. It's perseverance, and that's what you need in small business, and just keep going.
Well, there you have it. Unfortunately, this is the end of the episode, but if you're looking for more, be sure to find more episodes on the platform you're viewing on, or head over to Instagram to find tons of valuable clips.